Hi, today I thought I'd talk about fear because it's a conversation I've been having fairly often in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And the concept of fear, everybody knows what fear is. Everybody has had that feeling. It's one of the easiest of the feelings that we're aware of. But how many of us are really aware of the impact of fear? Most of the people that I work with certainly aren't. And if I'm honest, many years ago, before I did any of the work that I did and now actually teaching, I wasn't really that aware of what fear was capable of doing. And most people aren't aware that really there is only one fear. It may have many different triggers. So if we take phobias, there's a phobia of flying, there's a phobia of open spaces, there's a phobia of whatever, there are all sorts of different phobias. Yet the feeling of fear that we have in there, the biochemical reaction is exactly the same. So the molecules that are generated in the body are exactly the same, which means that really there is only one fear. There may be different triggers for that fear. It could be flying, it could be falling down, it could be anything, but those are just different triggers. And yes, you can learn how to disable those triggers so that the fear isn't generated, but the fear ultimately is the same. So if you learn how to deal with one fear, doesn't matter what that is, effectively you've learned how to deal with every other fear. It's just knowing that what you think of as fear, there's the feeling of fear, and then there's the trigger of fear. So I guess the next natural question is, how do you overcome fear? What is it that you need to do to remove that one fear? Not all the fears, because they're not all different fears. Different triggers, but one fear. And in terms of business people that I work with, fundamentally, there are unlimited numbers of fears that they run for the business. And the most prevalent one, which you may also be running, regardless of your business, is the fear of failure. What if everything I do or anything that I do doesn't work out? What if all my efforts are in vain and the business collapses and the business fails? What then? And that stops us from doing anything at all, just in case we fail. The opposite of failure is success. And believe it or not, there are many people that are afraid of success. And well, how can you be afraid of success? Surely that's what you're after. Well, there are the effects of success. If you're successful, what will your friends think of you? If you have lots of money, what will your friends and family think of you? How will they treat you? If you achieve fame and fortune, how are you going to relate to the people you've known all your life? How will those relationships change? And the fear of change, which ultimately what this is about, is what stops you from succeeding, because you want things to stay just as they are now. Okay, you may want things to improve on the surface, but deep down, there's still this fear of change. So there's two things going on. There's the wanting the change to occur, and then fighting the change. And it's almost like Jekyll and Hyde, wanting the opposite things. And you can't go in that direction and that direction at the same time. So what happens? You stay still and nothing happens. You freeze. So that's another way in which fear manifests in business. Ultimately, we're afraid of the past repeating itself. So we've had an experience in the past, and we really wouldn't like that to happen. So we're worried about that. Or we're worried that, as I said earlier in the video, all of our efforts to make something happen in the future, to bring about a particular result, isn't going to work. And just in case what we do fails, we don't take action at all, which seems pretty stupid, because to me, it's take the action and there's a possibility of failure, or don't take the action and there's a definite outcome of failure. So ultimately, you're faced with a choice: guaranteed 100% failure rate or 50%. If you take action, it may fail or it may succeed. So there's a 50% chance of failure. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather take 50% than 100%. And that's how I've come to be successful in what I do, because I've constantly taken risks, because they're not really risks, they're just chances to succeed. So I've set it up in my mind now that risk isn't really risk. Risk is an opportunity to succeed. How do you view risk? Is risk something that stops you in your tracks? Is risk something that you procrastinate over? Or do you look at risk and say, oh, there's an opportunity to succeed? That's one way to deal with fear. Okay, so we've spoken briefly about fear, and it is very brief because it would take a lot longer to go into the realm of fear. Now, if I can just summarize, there are, as I said, there's one fear, there are many, many different triggers to fear, and really there are only 3 reactions to fear. You know 2 of them, fight or flight. That's the one that most people know about. Fight is heading into fear and confronting it. Flight is running away from fear. Why are fight and flight better than the third option? Well, the third option is freeze. Freeze is to do nothing. But if you do nothing, then eventually the car will come and hit you. So fighting, or actually even fleeing, is better than doing nothing. But those are the 3 reactions that are most prevalent with fear. And which one is it that you do? Which one do you do most of? Are you the type that freezes? Well, freezing can come out in things like procrastination. That's an element of freezing. Fighting can come out in many different ways, but one simple one might be to be confrontational with the situation or with the person that you think is the cause of that fear. And fleeing is pretty obvious. Basically, you get out of the situation as quickly as you can. Which one do you do most of the time? Because we all have a favorite method. We run all 3 of them, but there's a favorite one that we go to. And that dictates how you deal with fear most of the time. Now, I can teach you how to deal with fear, which is what I do. It's one of my skill sets, but it takes more than a few minutes to do that. It takes a number of hours. And if you want to do that, if you want to know how to deal with fear, not just what to do, but how to do it specifically, then I suggest you have a look at my Emotional Power online videos. You'll find them on my website. Have a look at them. That will teach you how to overcome every single fear. Because remember, there's only one fear. Sounds simplistic, but that really is the case. Now, in my work, I work with many, many different types of people. I work with people who are struggling, and also work with people who are already very successful. They've got the dream lifestyle that the people who are struggling are aiming to get to, and yet they also have fear stopping them. They also have other emotions stopping them, and my work is to help those people become more happy and fulfilled in what they're doing. And the side effect of that is they end up working less and earning more. Are you the type of person that's working less and earning more? Are you the type of person that at the moment has to work more just to survive, or to work more to just stay where you are and not recede back into obscurity, if I can call it that, but whatever failure is for you? Or are you the type of person that's achieved a level of success, but now you're working harder than when you did when you were actually on the way to success? If you're caught up in one of those, then I suggest that we have a chat. Again, feel free to contact me through the website and set up a conversation. In the meantime, I have a challenge for you. Be truthful to yourself and ask yourself, how is fear affecting you? Because whether it's in business or in personal life, fear has far-reaching impact on every person. It doesn't just affect our business. If it's in the business that we're suffering from it, it doesn't just affect our business. It affects our health. It affects our relationships. If it's in the personal life, it still affects your business, and it affects your health. One of the things I work with corporates, or when I work with corporates, I help them see is it doesn't matter if they regard problem as a business problem or a personal problem, because quite often a company will say to me, well, that's a personal problem. You don't want to pay for that person to sort out personal problems. And the simple question is, are they bringing that personal problem into work? Which they obviously are. And if they are, then it affects the workplace. So are you taking your problems into work, or are your employees bringing their problems into work? It still needs sorting. So how is fear affecting you? Be truthful about that. And from that is the starting point of dealing with fear. So I hope to see you again soon. I hope to work with some of you. But in the meantime, do that exercise. How is fear really stopping you? And I'll see you again soon on another video.